It's always a good time to talk Mississippi State baseball, so that's what we're going to do on today's show. We are joined by Mississippi State assistant baseball coach Matt Kirby, Joel Coleman, Logan Lowery back with you here on Dear Old State, but the star of the show today is you, Coach Kirby. First off, it's our first time here on Dear Old State to have you. I know you've been here a few months now, but welcome to Starkville, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I guess I need to apologize the fact that you have to work with me on pretty much a daily basis now. So I guess I'll go ahead and get the apologies out of the way. But I told Coach Oak this when we had him on the show. But I've just been so impressed, watching you guys work over the last few months because y'all, when the recruiting window opened, which was pretty much immediately when you got here in Starkville, y'all were nonstop, just going all out on recruiting. What was the emphasis coming in day one to hit the ground running?
I really is to try to put the best championship roster, national championship roster that we could, right? Try to find the best players that met our what we do, how we do it, the best fit for Mississippi State as well. We could go after all of the top tier players, right, that were in there, but you want to bring in the right people. The most important piece of this is our clubhouse, right? There's a lot of good players, but you can be the best player in the country, and if it doesn't match with our values and our morals, then it's not going to work. So that's a big piece of it, and probably the most valuable piece for us is making sure that anybody that we bring in to this great university fits the university, fits our program, how we want to run it. And ultimately, the 15 guys that were here, making sure that they would gel with those guys and create the best culture and team.
For you personally, obviously been with Coach O'Connor for a long, long time. I think 14 seasons, correct,
Yes,
at Virginia. When he takes the job here and wants you to join him here in Starkville, walk us through that process. And was that a pretty easy decision for you to continue to be with Coach O'Connor? And I guess kind of a two-part question. What makes him someone that you've kind of attached your life to, at this point, and what makes him so special as well?
Well, first of all, it was a no-brainer to join him, right? When he asked myself and the rest of the staff that are here to join him, it was a no-brainer. Like, didn't even hesitate to say, hey, we're in. My journey started with him 14 years ago. Actually, about 14 years ago in a month prior to that. And I was at Georgetown, and we had a volunteer coach there, Ryan Metzroth, who was getting married, and he was supposed to come work a University of Virginia baseball camp, and basically was going to move on from being a baseball coach. And so I called Eddie Smith, who was running the camps at that time, said, hey, I'm going to step into his place, and went to the first camp. On my way back from the camp, I get a phone call from Coach Mack that says, hey, do you want to join our coaching staff? We're going to have an opening. And I'm like, absolutely. He goes, well, Coach O'Connor's going to give you a call. Well, 2 weeks later, I'm going back to work the second Virginia baseball camp, and by that time it was a done deal. And he's been a huge mentor in my life. There's three people that are extremely important in my life, three men, right? God, my father, and Coach O'Connor. Those have been the most three impactful people in my life. And my dad passed away October 1st of 2021 from cancer, and I will never forget this. Everything leading up to my dad leaving the hospital in Charlottesville and going home, every day, Coach checked in, right? And then when it became time for us to take him home, he said, you will not come to work. You will go home, spend whatever time you have left with your dad, and you come back when you're ready. So that meant a lot. I lived in his house for the first 3 months before he kicked me out. So I grew up with Dylan. I was around Dylan all the time, his oldest son, and Dylan was 3 at the time, I believe. A little curious, he'd come down. So we watch football together on Sundays, things like that. But I've just had a great relationship, and he's meant the world to me and my family. So it's been an honor to work with him, and he is by far, I've worked at different places and things like that, but he is by far the best man I've ever worked for. I've worked for really good people, right? But the entire package, that is him.
Well, the 14 seasons you spent with him, 12 of those was as a volunteer. I'm sure you were probably one of the happiest people in America when the NCAA passed the ruling a little while ago of you could actually be a full-time assistant now. How impactful was that decision on your life individually?
It was a huge impact, right? I will tell you this, like, I ran our camp system at Virginia, and Coach O'Connor was very gracious with how much he paid me and my salary, right? And it's why, it's a small piece of why you continue, because he values the people around him, and he gives away so much of what a lot of people don't give away. So that made it a lot easier to be in that situation of being a volunteer coach. That was the small piece that helped. The bigger piece was being around great people who were great coaches as well. That's the biggest part. But the financial piece, you still have to be able to live, right? And for the longest time, at every stop I was at, my parents always were chipping in there somehow, because you're living paycheck to paycheck. Because the most money I ever made leading into Virginia was $25,000. That was it.
It's tough to live on,
right?
that.
And that was in D.C. Okay, $25,000 in D.C. I don't care what the climate is from a financial standpoint, or how the world's doing. It's almost impossible to do that.
You're not rubbing nickels together at that point. You're rubbing pennies together.
Correct. So that he was unbelievable with that. And even going back to COVID, right? So COVID, no camps, no camp business. Okay, we were ended up able to run a youth camp at a Little League park, okay, in Charlottesville. And so, again, it wasn't anywhere close. We weren't making the money off that to what my salary was. He was still paying me out of his own pocket, right? Because there was no camp business. So that goes to tell you, the type of person he is, and how much, again, how much he valued, what we were doing. So when a big part of that, when the financial piece, when that went into play in 2023 in July, allowed him to use the money he was paying me to help other people on our staff, which was important. That's why you get a Justin Weiss, a Travis Reefsnet, or Joe Savino, that those guys are able to live comfortably, and be on our staff and get into coaching with a great staff. So, but the biggest part of that was the recruiting piece, right? Which had opened up the ability to go out and recruit. And I did that at Virginia, or at Georgetown. I did that at Villanova. I did it at Virginia in 2015 and 2018 when Coach was with Team USA. So there were different spots that I got waivers to go out for him, but being able to do it full time, because the first thing when you go on a job interview that you're ever asked, what's your recruiting background? So if you haven't been out in the landscape of it, it's hard, for people to gather that, okay, I've been at the University of Virginia, and all of my recruiting experience for the most part has been on campus and through our camps. So being able to do that and be out on the road is a huge part of a big picture of why that was such an important piece, not only for myself, but for every other young volunteer out there, that they get that recruiting experience to be able to move on to the next job.
I've always so interested to ask, whether it was Coach Oak the other day when he was with us, or now you. Here at Mississippi State, we work right here next to Dudy Noble Field. We see it all the time. We write about it all the time, and talk about the facilities and walk through them and see them all the time. For you all, obviously you're aware of the reputation of Mississippi State baseball before you set foot on campus and things. But I just, from y'all's perspective, to get to come here in wear the maroon and white now, and Duty Noble Field is your home, and the things that are available to you here at Mississippi State. Just what's kind of the, before you get here, I guess, impression of Mississippi State, and now that you're in it, just what's the feel like that, hey, this is where we're at now, just how special it is?
Well, leading up to getting here, I mean, you knew, or we knew that, including myself, like, that this has a great stadium, great field, right? Great fan base, right? We knew all that. But it doesn't hit you really until you get here and you see it, right? And then you realize how special this place is. So that was, driving here the first night and pulling up to Duty Noble Field was like, oh boy, like this is it. Like this is why for so long, I just think about like all the things that my parents did for me, right? To give me this opportunity, to give me the opportunity to actually eventually get with Coach O'Connor and be able to have this opportunity is incredible, right? And thankful for what they did and what they sacrificed. But you get here and you're just blown away, because you can look on it on the internet and look at videos and things like that, and you're like, oh, this is a really nice place. But when you get here, it's the Taj Mahal. Like it has a huge impact on you as a person as soon as you pull up. And I just said this to Mike Roberts last night. Every night, or every afternoon or every morning we wake up, we get to come here, and that's a huge blessing. And it's it takes your breath away every time.
Well, you'll get a chance to be in that first base coaching box. I've seen you working with the catchers in the pitching lab every day. What additional roles will you have with this team? What kind of obviously assistant coach, but what all does that entail?
I'll do a lot of work. At least at Virginia, I did a lot of work with our scouting reports on the position player side. Myself, Travis Reese-Snyder, J-Dub, Justin Weiss, Mike Roberts and I worked together from 2015 to 2018. And that was kind of our role of going back and forth. So it's great to have him back with us. But that'll be a part of what I do, of preparing our players for our opponent. And then obviously coaching the catchers. In my opinion, it's the most important position on the field. So you want those guys to be prepared at the highest level, and that's a big part of my job, is putting those guys and putting pressure on them right now before we get to our first fall game, so that when the games do happen, their heart rate slows down, the breathing slows down, all that, and the game slows down for them. But the other part for me is I'll coach the outfielders, and I'll work with those guys, position those guys. It's one of the things I did at Virginia was positioning. You could basically probably, in the football realm, it'd be the defensive coordinator. But that's kind of where part of my responsibility. And then again, try to managing the recruiting piece during the spring. That'll be a big part of it as well. Coach
Oak had specifically brought up the catchers as one of the points of emphasis when you guys got to Mississippi State. I know, as we've started some individual work and whatnot, don't know how much really you can share here, but what's kind of your early impressions, I guess, of the catching position as we've kind of kicked off the fall a little bit?
You get to watch video from this company. This I guess it's not an app, but like this video company called Synergy, right? So you get to do prior to coming here, short 24 hours. We take the job, and you're like, all right, let's do a clean look at what we've got, right? One of the guys I've been really, really impressed with is Jackson Owen, right? Just how he's gone about his business, right? He didn't play last year; he had the injury, but his work ethic, his communication, the relationship he has with the pitchers has been really, really impressive, and then his willingness to help the other guys. And that's a big thing for me, is that we have our catchers, but I want them. It's not just me teaching them. I want them teaching each other and working with each other, because the more you teach it, the more you start to do what you're teaching. And that's been a huge staple of what we did at Virginia is, hey, we're all in this together. I don't care if you're a freshman, junior, senior, sophomore. It doesn't matter. We're going to work all together as a unit, and if we can lift each other up, we'll be the best unit that we can be. But Andrew Raymond, Kevin Maluski, they've been phenomenal. They've adapted really well. We've got the young guys in Charlie Wortham and Peter Mershon, who've been really impressive as well. So it's been a real treat to work with those guys, right? So usually, we have 5 catchers, which is a lot on a roster. But that's what the roster was, right? So we'll manage it with them. We'll get them a ton of opportunities. We'll teach them up and coach them up, and that they'll all be prepared. And that's the biggest thing, is they'll be prepared every single day.
I came back from the pitching lab the other day, and I told Joel when I came back in the office, I was like, our catching group looks like defensive ends and tight ends. I mean, there's some size, there's some specimens behind the plate. But right now during the fall, how pivotal of a time is this for the catching position? Because there's a lot of new arms out there. A lot of those catchers themselves are new to the program, so they're learning a lot and figuring out, this guy throws this guy throws this, and just the velocity and all the different things that you have to learn as a catcher back there. How pivotal is this time during the fall to start learning all that, to where it's kind of old hat by the time spring rolls around?
Well, it's a huge part of it, right? You think about, you've got all these elite arms that we have, right? With a lot of guys with really good stuff. Peter Mershon catches Jack Bauer, freshman, and we start with short boxes, okay, where they're 55, 52 feet from each other, and the first bolt that Jack Bauer throws is 97, and Peter Mershon sticks it. I'm like, okay. The next one's 99, and you're like, this is a short box. Like, it's in the full 60 feet, 6 inches, and and he sticks that one. I'm like, okay, that's pretty impressive. I think the ball would have gone by me. I'd have squeezed the glove and then turned around and tried to pick it up off the wall, right? So that's been, it's really huge for those guys to be around the pitchers, learn their stuff, learn what Coach Parker's saying to them, right? Because that's a big key. When they are ultimately the pitching coach that's on the field, and they get to have the interactions with their teammates and with the pitchers. And part of it, they're learning new setups. There's some guys that were never on one knee. They were always on 2 feet, especially with runners on base. Different glove movements, things like that. And I'm also, trying to teach them, hey, how can you non-verbally talk to the pitcher, right? And help them without saying something, right? Everybody's going to say, hey, throw strikes, right? I'll tell you, well, yeah, he's trying to do that. Or, the guy, you're trying to go to the pitcher's glove side and he misses arm side. Hey, get it there, right? Yeah, he's trying to. But how can we non-verbally use our glove, use any type of our, hand signals, whatever it is, to put him in the best position to succeed without having to say something that, okay, it's just generic of like, hey, throw strikes, right? Yeah, that's what the guy's trying to do, right? So that's a big part of it, right? So when we do play our first fall game, right, on September 19th or September 20th, whenever that is, that it's not the first time they're seeing guys. They're accustomed to it. They've seen them for 4 weeks. They've caught them for 4. They know what their stuff does. So that's been the biggest thing too for me, is trying to make sure that each guy's catching each guy enough, right? And then keeping track of like, okay, Kevin Maluski's caught Jack Bauer twice, but Jackson Owen's caught him once. Like, let's try to make sure that everybody's getting equal time with those guys. So when you get to the first fall game, the guy's not catching him for the second time, over 4 weeks. So that's a big part of it.
I got to ask, and I don't know if it's a fair question for you, because I know your eyes are on your position group or whatever, but you've mentioned Jack tossing 97 up there and things out of the corner of your eye. How impressed have you been so far with some of the pitching that you've seen?
It's been really impressive. I was talking to Coach Parker as like, this is, even the first week, it was really impressive watching, kind of how he goes about his business with those guys. There's a reason the pitching staff was really good last year, right? And then you see all these young guys that are coming in and the new guys that just the overall stuff. That's only going to help our position players as well, that you're seeing elite stuff every single day. But again, it goes back to, we're going to challenge our guys and face elite stuff every single day, not only from our guys on the mound, but from, what we do with the position players to prepare them. Again, it all comes down to slowing their heart rate down, slowing their breathing down, and being in it every single day. So when you do face a guy like Jack Bauer, who's throwing the ball 97 to 103, you're under control. It's not all of a sudden jittery and trying to go fast. You can slow the process down and actually have a slow heart rate at bat, right? So that's a big piece of it. But I've been extremely impressed with the guys' stuff, their aptitude. Listening to Coach Parker, ask them to make an adjustment on whether it was their lead arm glove or whatnot, and guys making the adjustment like that. That's been pretty impressive.
Yeah, over the course of this conversation, you mentioned a lot of names that are on the staff that you've worked with in the past, and although this is a new place for y'all have all worked together for pretty much well over a decade, just about every single one of you. But that continuity that's among the staff, even like I said, even in a new environment, new place that you're doing it at, the continuity that you guys have as a staff, how much is that helpful when you're in a new place?
It's a big part of it, right? Knowing each other's strengths, each other's weaknesses, because you can fill in the gaps, right? And kind of knowing how people operate, right? We're all different. We all have different personalities. So knowing, when you go to a new place, having familiarity with someone, and that's been the big thing of, okay, how quickly can we, gel and adapt with Coach Parker? And that happened like that, which was awesome. So, you feel like you've worked with him for, it's only been 2.5 months, but it feels like it's been 3 years, right? So, that's been a big piece of it. Again, and even for our families, that's the one thing that you kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit is, our wives, our kids, we're here every day. Sometimes, that first month, 2 months, we were in the office till 1 a.m. and then you're sometimes later, and then the next morning you're there at 7 a.m. I've watched my 2 girls grow up the last couple of weeks through FaceTime, right? Thank goodness for that. But the big pieces, they're lost in that too. So when the families are all together and having people that you're familiar with, it makes it. I don't want to say my wife would probably tell me this is not accurate, but in theory it should make it easier that you have people around you that are surrounded with you, that know you, that love you. So it's been huge.
Logan hit on it just a minute earlier, but obviously coaching first base, I'm always interested to pick the brain a little bit of the guys that do that. Here at Mississippi State in recent years, we've seen Landon Sims coach first. We've seen Stone Simmons coach first. We've had different.
Braden Booth did it most of last year.
Braden Booth did it most of last year and things. We'll have you over there, I guess, this coming season. But what kind of, to be a successful first base coach, there's a lot more than just holding that, elbow guard or something over there at first base. What kind of goes through your brain as you're coaching first base to try and put our guys in the best position to run the bases as successfully as possible?
Don't screw it up. That's the big part. I try. We have our own language here, right? That we teach our guys, right? So a lot of it's doing reminder things. Okay, guy gets first off, guy gets a base hit or run through ground. There's certain hand signals that I will give to them that, hey, if the ball gets through, whatnot, if they don't see it, some verbals that I will give them to help them from a base running standpoint. But once they get there, is just to keep reminding them, hey, what is it that the left? If it's a left-hander, if it's a right-hander, what's the key? right? Remind them of the outs. Remind them about dirt balls, what we're doing in that situation. Head high line drives, right? Using our language in that. Just a bunch of reminder things. And then if there's something that's picked up, whether on a move or something like that, giving them that information. So again, making sure that their eyes pick up Coach Mack when he's giving the signs. That's so we can get those in right away, especially with the clock and how that works.
Yeah.
But that's the big part of my job is just don't screw it up.
Well, Coach, hopefully Logan and I didn't screw up this interview. So hopefully, hopefully
No,
the
I
fans
appreciate it.
enjoyed it. Hopefully it didn't steal too much of your time. But it's been a pleasure to get to know you a little bit and your background. And so excited to have yourself and the whole staff here with us at
Thank you.
Mississippi State. And best of luck to y'all for a successful fall. And
Thank you.
I know we're right in the middle of football season, so we're all in on football right now or whatever. But I know that all of us too are looking forward to the spring as
Yeah,
well and
well,
seeing y'all out there. So
We're excited for our first football game this weekend.
Yeah.
Excited for the experience. Excited to see the team play well and get after it on the football field.
yeah, it's going to be loud.
Yeah.
So one little football thing there. If you don't have your tickets yet for Arizona State this Saturday, get them because it's going to be a special environment coming up on Saturday night. Special show today. Thank you, Coach,
Thank
for
you,
joining
guys.
us.
Thanks for having us.
Ask Matt Kirby. It's been another episode of Dear Old State. Appreciate y'all joining us, folks. Hail State.
Hail
Hail
State.
State.